Hi, for this video what I want to do is do an application of scientific notation. The world population and the US population are both very large numbers, and so a lot of times we will use scientific notation when we are referencing them. So in this example, what we're going to do is compare the US population to the world population and the US energy consumption to the world energy consumption. And we're going to answer the question, what does this tell you about energy usage by Americans? So part of mathematics is kind of analyzing numbers and looking at them. And a lot of times when we're comparing numbers, the easiest way to do that is to use percentages. So that's what I'm going to do in this problem is I'm going to set up the US population as a percentage of the world population and then do the same thing with the energy consumption and then look at those side by side to see how they compare to each other. So in the US right now we have approximately 340 million people, which is referenced as 3.4 times 10 to the 8th. And the world population is approximately 8.14 billion, which is set up in scientific notation as 8.14 times 10 to the 9th. So when we are comparing the US population to the world population, we're going to set it up as a ratio of the two and then convert it into a percent. So we would do 3.4 times 10 to the 8th over 8.14 times 10 to the 9th. Okay, so basically what's going to happen is you can use rules of exponents to simplify the scientific notation part. So if I simplify that, remember that when you switch sides of the fraction bar that you do subtract or you change signs. So I really have 10 to the 8th minus 9, which ends up being times 10 to the negative 1. And then all you have to do is put this into a calculator to simplify it as a decimal, and then I'm going to round that decimal. So let me grab a calculator. Any calculator will do this. All you have to do is type in the 3.4 divided by 8.14, and we can see that it's approximately 0.418, and I'm going to just round to 3 decimal places, so 0.418. The 7 would go up since the 6 is behind it. Since this is times 10 to the negative 1, we would move it over 1 decimal place to the left. So this is really 0.0418. And then remember to convert this to a percent, we would multiply it by 100%. So this ends up being approximately 4.18%. So the US population is approximately 4.18% of the world population. Okay, so now let's do the same thing for the energy consumption. So we're going to do the US energy as a proportion of the world energy. And we would set this up as 1.63 times 10 to the 20th over 6.17 times 10 to the 20th. And since these end up being the same exponent, they end up canceling each other out. It's 10 to the 0, which is just the same thing as 1. So all we really have to do is put the 1.63 divided by 6.17 into our calculator. Again, you can use any calculator you want. I just am happening to use ClassCalc, which is a free online graphing calculator that's very useful. And so we end up with 0.264 if I round it to 3 decimal places. We technically have times 10 to the 0, which remember I just talked about was 1. This really is just 1, so it's really 0.264. And if I convert this into a percent, I would multiply this by 100%. So this ends up being 26.4%. Okay, so that means that the U.S. energy consumption is approximately 26.4% of the world energy consumption. Okay, so if we look at this, that means that although the US population is only 4.2% of the world population, or 4.18% of the world population, we use almost 26% of the world energy consumption. So it definitely shows that the US population uses more energy than other countries do. As always, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please let me know. If there are additional topics that you would like me to cover, please let me know that as well.